I love exploring worlds that, you know, we haven't seen for a long time. And the world of Prince of Persia is something very interesting. It goes way back.
What I loved was that it went right the way back to before stories were history. It went to a point where they were myth.
Go with the patrols, off to your left. There's one turning and coming back now.
Really, it was about the story and the possibilities for the story. The ability to do a beautiful, epic period piece really pulled us to it.
This is what the building down in Moscow. This is the NASA project, so...
First of all, the scope of it, the size of it, I just thought, wow, I've never been involved in something that's, you know, like this, and can it be pulled off? Just seemed like a huge challenge.
And then this is actually on the set we're going to go out. We're actually building part of that tower.
We are, you know, taking off from what's given to us by the game, and the game creator worked with us for a long time on developing the screenplay, so we're being true to his vision of the game.
Of course, one of my concerns about doing a Prince of Persia movie was that it'd be a good movie. And, you know, there's really no one who makes this kind of movie better than Jerry Bruckheimer.
So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to show you how the taking of the city bursts out of the yard which you have just taken.
We went out to Morocco, and in the first week we just kind of visited some of the sets that have been built. And I mean, they were like cities. That was when I realised, whoa, you know, this is a big deal.
When they look down off the plateau, right, they look down on this city, and this here is that there, all right?
Everywhere our eyes looked, we saw the most exquisitely carved walls, drapes, ramparts, and in Morocco, the nature itself, the camels, the thousands of horse riders, the horses, the dust. It's really uplifting, and it honors our craft to such a degree.
The film takes place in a very distant, far-off land in Morocco, so it has so much beautiful scenery, from mountains to valleys to desert.
And what's wonderful about Morocco is that there are these mind-splitting contrasts between the most extraordinary iridescent green and absolute aridness.
It's a really beautiful country. We'd have our days off, and I would just drive out into the desert, like just drive and drive and drive and drive.
It's quite stunning, and it's not surprising that so many films get to shoot there, because it's very rewarding visually.
And also, I have to say that the local labour here, some of the craftsmanship is fantastic. Some of the plasterers, some of the metal workers who bash out bits of brass and make beautiful patterns. It's fantastic. Some good craftsmen here.
The first day I got here, one of the first things I did is I went out to the warehouse where they're putting together all the props and all the production design. And it's filled floor to ceiling with lamps to swords to all sorts of elaborate weaponry. All of it was made there on the spot by hand by local artisans.
We spent a lot of time on the design of the dagger. It was very important. It's the thing that releases the sands of time. And it had to have the exact qualities for that period and yet be unique and special. So I think we did about 30 different daggers before we settled on the one that we ended up using in the film.
Beautiful job. The props people, the costume people, the set dressers, they all went absolutely mad for how we could make these things both imaginative and so that it would be a good mystical story, and at the same time pay real service to what things actually looked like.
The most challenging thing about Prince of Persia has just been the locations we've shot, moving people around, hotels, transportation, logistics, also facing wild animals, vipers, and a few other scorpions, a few other things along the way.
Jeez. What all the guidebooks had said was, this is a marvelous country, splendid place to be, just don't go in July and August.
And so, of course, there were impossible-to-break reasons for us to shoot in July and August. So it was very, very hot.
108. It was over 100 degrees just about every day, and, you know, our actors were wearing these heavy costumes, and it was really difficult. We had to keep hydrating them so they wouldn't get sunstroke.
The nature of the landscape, which is why we're here. It is the hidden valley, but it means it's also hidden to try and get the equipment into, and the very narrow paths for one way in, one way out, and that can make it humorous at times or frustrating.
Sometimes in really stark desert, no greenery at all, and the rain would come.
It's gonna rain.
Everybody said, oh, it's never happened like this before. Oh, my grandfather remembers in 1871.
It was tough. I mean, this is the hardest work I've ever done. And rightly so, we're making an action film that has to look absolutely genuine.
I'd never seen so many extras. I mean, it's extraordinary, you know, galloping down the hill with a real army behind me and not 5 guys that they're going to replicate in CGI. And the noise of it, the noise of an army, that's pretty impressive.
Just to see all of the extras. We had African-looking, like kind of tribal, and then we had Chinese, and it was amazing, the costumes and everything.
Penny Rose is our costume designer. She did all 3 of the Pirates of the Caribbean. Penny's an amazing artist. She designs all the costumes, and then she has to make them, which is not an easy task because we have thousands of costumes.
How many of these damn things are there to do?
She gave me so many choices, and she'd say really wonderful things to me, like, she's like, do you like that ring? And I'd say, like, darling, do you like that ring? And I'd say, yeah, I sort of like that ring. And she'd, oh, you don't like it? Well, don't be surprised if it ends up on someone else. And I'd be like, okay. And
This is Jake's armor that he wears in the opening of the film when he's a warrior. Real leather, painstakingly made with all the ingredients and accessories. It was made in Morocco by the wonderful craftsman there. And this one is the plastic replica.
And this coat is, like, you know, made up of 1,000 different pieces of material. And when it was new, it looked gorgeous. Then she took a cheese grater to it in the most vicious way. And what you see is the result of years and years of wear. But it doesn't feel like a costume, it feels like clothes.
This is my princess outfit. This is going to be the Disney shop outfit, I think.
We had extras who were leaning against the walls and dozing. They looked exactly like paintings. They were absolutely exquisite.
Back row!
I never thought ostriches would ever end up in one of my films, but it's a hysterical sequence.
Yeah, pretty exciting day. We got our jockeys for the first time today, and none of them have ridden an ostrich before, although they are professional jockeys. But it's a little different riding an ostrich.
It's very difficult.
I quickly realized that there are going to be crashes on every single race because they're very, very difficult to ride. In ostrich, you only have one balance point. You can't go forward, you can't lean back, and you don't have any side to side. As soon as you get to the side, then the ostrich veers and falls.
Yeah, we had 3 or 4 tumbles. Nobody seriously hurt, thank goodness.
My number is 5. Number 5 is good. It's good, Chavai. Thanks. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I think some of my favorite memories from Morocco is just the people. It's this eclectic mix of old world and cosmopolitan, and their people are gracious and generous and nice and accommodating. It's such a great culture.
Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you, and you? Yeah.
The Moroccan people are the sweetest, kindest people and the hardest workers. When you go to Marrakesh, you have like this sort of westernized area, and then as you travel farther and farther out, you see this beautiful culture. And there's nothing better than being in a place where you feel like you go back in centuries, you know. The realism of it is all in there.
We did a lot of our filming in England, and at the Pinewood Studios, which has the largest stage in Europe called the 007 stage, where they did a lot of the Bond films. And on that stage, we built this enormous exterior of the castle.
This is the lower part of the wall, right? And that's the upper part of the wall. They go together.
We took over 9 of their 11 stages with our sets.
We've got 9 stages and we've turned them all over 2 or 3 times, so it's 35, 40 sets probably. So yeah, I would say this is, it's the largest in scale and scope.
I didn't want to make it a fantasy. I wanted to make it seem as it must have seemed to people in the 4th and 5th and 6th century, which is when this is set. And what I then wanted to do was to have a big contrast between the world of the prince and the world of the princess.
The Persian stuff was obviously based on Persian period architecture around the sort of turn of the century. And with regards to obviously the Alamut, it's based a lot on sort of Hindi-style architecture, so in its materials and motifs.
Why would Dastan come to Avarat, where he knows it's dangerous?
I was wondering the same thing.
We have Nassaf, which is the Persian royal city, and that, in terms of colours, I wanted to use black reds, a sort of warring nation, a defensive nation, and then there's Alamut, which is, alabaster creams, sparkling blues, flaking gold leaf, flaking limes, in terms of wall finishes.
A lot of this was obviously built in Morocco as well, so it feels like you're in a parallel sort of world, It's really weird because a lot of it is the same as what you saw in Morocco.
In the A stage, in the set there, the bazaar, all the doors and shutters, metalwork, were all sourced in Marrakesh.
And action!
Jake did such an amazing job training himself for this film. First of all, he had to learn sword fighting. He had to learn how to run and to jump and to fall.
I expected the acting, I expected the lovely looks, but what I didn't know about him was that he would be an absolutely God-given action hero. He can fight and he can ride and he can clamber and jump.
We did a ton of fighting rehearsal. Starting with like a strike and a parry, and then slowly moving on to much more difficult choreography.
And now he stabbed, and that stabbed him on that. Right, good, good, good. Bring your
It's
hand
easier
over.
for me when you come on top, because then I can really bring you over.
Yeah, okay.
As far as a fight coordinator is concerned, he takes direction, but he also wants to put the flavor of his character in, which is just very commendable.
Action!
The character in the game does an enormous amount of parkour, so it's something that we incorporated also into the film.
David Bell is great. First of all, he's the founder of it all, so it was interesting to listen to him. And he came up with 4 or 5 not-so-little bits that really added to the film.
En fait, j'interviens dans le film de Prince of Persia en tant que chorégraphe pour définir un peu toutes les scènes d'action, amener un côté authentique. On voit le personnage faire des vrilles, des mouvements, des acrobaties, et je suis un peu là pour donner un sens et justifier cette action pour que ça soit bien inclus dans l'histoire.
When Dastan jumps off of things and flies off of things, any extremely talented gymnast could probably pull those things off. And in fact, when we do them on set, they're the real thing. And that has a nice feeling of reality, and I think an audience will really pick up on that.
Dans le cinéma, on essaie de trouver ce qui va être le plus joli, le plus impressionnant, et des fois, c'est pas forcément logique ou crédible. Le parcours se pratique dans des configurations réelles. C'est vraiment toutes les différentes possibilités de passer dans des endroits suivant les architectures des immeubles et tout, qui font faire au corps des mouvements un peu différents de tous les autres sports qu'on a vus.
Tu fais comme ça, tu arrives ici, tu bloques, tu te retournes, tac, tu sautes.
It's so exciting to watch. These people are jumping and bouncing off walls and off ceilings, and they do it all, through their physical force.
We incorporate the new parkour, free running into the old style of battles and fights, and that gives it a different flavor.
My favorite movies are always a mix of everything, every department, from, real production design that's detail-oriented and can be really interacted with, along with stunts. A mixture of all that, you know, is what makes the movies I love, you know, great. And I think this is one of those movies.
All right, now then, Jake, start to swing it a bit towards me more.
You've got to make it all work. Every tiny little corner of it has got to be of a piece. So you're absolutely making up a world in which the characters in the story can believe what is happening to them.
Prince of Persia is an epic film, from the locations to the action to the adventure, all the things we love going to the movies for, to get away from our lives for a couple hours and join our characters in a world that they'll never be a part of and something they've never seen before.